from now on is being recorded. And then at the end, we'll just hit the stop broadcast, and there'll be a record of this for us. Okay. And then, I thought we could actually do a start an iteration. We've got about an hour and a half. And if you see the outline of the of our agenda, if you go down, it says do intro design project, and if you follow that link, it should open up a window for online design. And that's another thing. This is I've done this course 3 times, and it's always been in person, so it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. This is a bit of a prototype to actually do it online, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So this is an introduction to human-centered design. This is from the Stanford D School, or the design school. And I made an online version of this, and I actually took this at Stanford. And this is like a modification. What they did is they had 2 people work together, and they would redesign the wallet or the gift-giving experience. So this is we're going to interview one person in the team about their experience with empathy and in their family, and we want to redesign their experience for them. And I see Aaron is smiling, so maybe he'd be willing to be the interviewee.
I don't know. I want to give other people an opportunity first.
Okay, that's up to you. Yeah. So what this is? Yes.
I just had a doubt. When we talk about design thinking or human-centered design using empathy, what kind of problems can we solve using them? Types of problems we may not be able to solve using empathy, or is it like we can solve any problem using empathy?
Okay, so what I was hearing there is you're wondering, like, with design, and with empathy, what problems can we apply that to? And from using this model here, this is the model. This is the same as our course, but it's from the D School. They break down the design process a little bit. They have different words for it, but it starts with empathy. So according to this, every problem can be addressed with empathy. So as I understand it, design started with designing stuff, but now they're going into designing systems, designing processes, designing cultures. So from my understanding, a design process should be able to be applied to any challenge that's out there. And so every challenge starts with empathy, that we need to empathize with the users. So from my understanding, every problem is like an empathy problem in a sense. So I don't know what other people think about that.
So my thought, what I've learned from experiences with my wife is that we want to practice empathy, but there isn't always a problem to be solved. Sometimes she doesn't want her problem solved. Sometimes just being empathetic means being a good listener, someone who understands being in her shoes. So I just want to make note of that I think practicing empathy isn't always about finding a solution or fixing someone's problem, but more about just really being a good listener and maybe sometimes just even a really good sounding board.
I very much agree. Sorry, I very much agree with that. With that, empathy doesn't mean that you will go out and solve everybody's problems. Because my boyfriend, my partner, is, if I tell him something, he immediately he understands my problem, but he straight goes into the solution. That's not what I want at all. I don't want him to solve my problems. I just want him to listen. So yeah, I think that's a really good distinction there.
I would like to add something too. I totally agree with this thing. Sometimes you just don't want the solution. You want the next person whom with you're living or your children. You just want to understand their perspective from where they are coming from. They just want you to understand their feelings and what they are going through. If you get to that level, even that gives them a lot of satisfaction. You just need to understand that. Yes, compassion too. You don't have to resolve everything. Every person has different kind of personality, different kind of things. They deal different. They have different thinking. Some things, some have more emotion. Some do lot logical thinking, and they're like, why do the people have so much emotion? Why don't they think logically? But that's how they work. You just need to understand them. You don't have to just criticize them just because you don't think or you don't do stuff like that. So it's basically about compassion and understanding other person, understanding their norm, their culture, their way of living. That's it.
Okay, then, Aaron, it seemed like you were kind of volunteering there to start the discussion. So what I wanted to just go over is an introduction. So page 1 of the Human-Centered Design, that's the model that the design school at Stanford uses: empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Now, this course is from IDEO, and they're using a little bit different vocabulary. It's they're using, what is it? They're using discover, ideate, and prototype, but it's the same model. And there's the iteration picture. I don't know if you're on that page. It shows that it's an iterative process, and then it shows that empathy is the opening, the listening part, taking in. There's the define process, narrowing in, and prototyping, brainstorming is the opening up, kind of taking in a lot, and then focusing again. So we wanted to actually go through this full process, and if you see page 2 is the outline of the process, and page 3 is the challenge. Is everybody on that page? Page 3 of the empathic design. They call it Design Project Zero. It's
Sorry,
Stanford.
I'm not following. Can you share the link again? I'm not following it.
Okay.
Sorry.
What's the name of the actual document?
Oh, it's here's the link. I hope that opens it up.
Thank you.
There was also a link in the outline. I guess I didn't make that clear. Sorry about that.
Oh, so the one you sent, right? The one you showed us.
Yeah, I just sent one. I'll wait till everybody's on that page. It says Introduction to Human-Centered Design.
Right, okay.
So is everyone on that page that can? I don't know, Sufula, you might be on a phone or something, so you might have difficulty seeing that.
No, I'm using a desktop.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. So, and Nudrat, are you on that page? You're muted, so
yes.
if you're...
Yes,
okay,
I forgot
great.
about it. I was speaking. Yes, I got it. I'm following you now.
Okay, great. So that's the model from the D School, and it's the same as our course, too. They just use different words for it. I like this model a bit different because it's explicit about the empathy. So that's on page 1. Page 2 is the outline of the steps we're going to do. And then page 3 is, oh great, somebody's already working there, is our challenge. How might we raise the level of empathy in our partner that we're working with in their family? So we're going to have one person that we're going to interview, and we're going to go through this whole process and design a more empathic family environment, or find out with some solutions for them. And it might just be listening to them, might be all we end up doing. So you'd kind of like jumped right in. Aaron, was that kind of like...
Fine, okay, I'll go ahead.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take about 15 minutes. Is there someone that can be a timekeeper for us?
I can do that.
Okay, great. So if you can kind of just watch for about 15 minutes, and then you can see we can take notes before. I'm going to start with interviewing Aaron about him and his family. And if the rest of you can just kind of take notes, what you're hearing, I'll ask several questions for maybe, 5 or 10 minutes. Then we'll open it up that each of you can ask a question as well. And then we'll write out the answer. We'll write out the discussion here, and then we'll be using this material. So, is everybody there? It says it's page 3. It says take notes below, and you can be typing in there. So I think we're ready. So Aaron, thank you for being willing to share about your family and your experience with empathy. Can you tell me a little bit about what your experience with empathy and your family has been?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of really broad topic. So I guess my approach towards empathy in the family has been one where it really hasn't been much empathy. I see myself as a kind of a stereotypical guy who assumes responsibility for providing for the family, and to me that means working 40 to 60 hours a week and sacrificing my own personal time to earn the money that we need to support our livelihood. And I would suppose that as far as the emotional relationship or the empathetic relationship that I have with my family, it's probably not as existent as it could be, in the sense of the value that my family places on the time that we spend with one another, as opposed to the sacrifices that I'm thinking that I'm making by earning money. There's a huge conflict with that sometimes, and learning how to, I guess, balance that, balance the family time versus work time is probably a challenge for me. I from my own history, I suppose I come from this perspective that I need to work hard. I'm driven to work hard. I'm driven to provide for my family. I'm not driven to really be emotional about how I feel about the experiences that I'm going through, as much as what I'm able to deliver in my family in order to provide them with sustenance. So I'm probably a little bit leery of letting myself feel or experience my disapproval of the things that I need to do in order to provide for my family. I'm a little apprehensive about letting myself react emotionally to the fact that sometimes I need to work 60 hours a week. And so it comes out in the relationships that I have with my family. And so that's kind of hard, understanding how I need to change to be more empathetic so that we can have a more productive and happier family, and so that I personally don't ascribe to living in such a rigid lifestyle.
Okay, so what I'm hearing there is that you've in your family, you haven't kind of focused on the empathy part in the relationships. You've seen yourself as more the breadwinner, really working hard, putting in the 60 hours, a week to really focus on being the breadwinner and bringing in the financial part. And
right. And so my downtime is usually my own personal solitude instead of, good quality family time. Because the reality is after 60 hours I'm exhausted, and the reality is that sometimes I need my own personal space. But the truth is, the reality is that I've probably been more abandoned from my family than included with them. And so when I attempt to take that personal space for myself, I don't comprehend the damage that I'm always doing. In the
So
relationship.
when you're like working really hard, you're feeling you need to go home and just have your own time and your own space,
Yeah,
and that you're
play video
thinking that
games,
to
watch
recuperate.
movies. Yeah.
But then you're feeling that maybe being on your own like that, it's kind of doing damage to the family relationship because you're not relating. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes, you got it. That's exactly right.
And are you saying you would like to have better relationships? You're kind of looking at how to have better relationship or have more
Absolutely.
empathy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand it from a personal sense of overcoming my own fears of why do I feel like I need to drive myself and my life so forcefully and avoid the intimacy that sustains, that establishes, that builds quality long-term relationships.
Mm. So it's like you're feeling that there might be some kind of fear associated with putting the energy into the relationship,
You know,
or
not necessarily fear
no?
about being intimate in relationships. It's more about fear of of not being able to provide for
Oh, uh-huh.
and the family. I mean, that's. I mean, I don't come from a wealthy background. I've had some moments in my life where I really had to work really hard to take care of myself, and so it's a place where I don't want to ever go again myself.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on for a second, okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so what I was hearing there is it's like you've had some difficult times, kind of growing up, and so the providing and the financial part you have, that's where the fear is, that you won't be able to provide for the family and yourself, and so
Right.
that's where the concern comes in.
Yes, a little bit of history about me. Even though I've got a degree in computer science, even though I've been writing software for about 15 years for major companies, there was a time in my life where I was actually homeless in New York City, and that was a time when I was putting the cart before the horse. And so that experience right there really, really changed my perception of what I need to do as a person to be healthy. And my definition of what healthy means ended up being this person who works almost 60 hours a week, to provide so that I never have to experience that unfortunate reality of being homeless.
Mm. And so why is that important to you, not to have that experience of being homeless again?
Because it sucks. It's not a place where anyone would want to be. I mean, the reality is that what I've learned in general, people give 10% to charity. So when you're homeless, that's the most you'll ever get. That's the most you can ever expect is 10% kindness, 10% compassion, 10% of whatever someone has in their wallet or in their pocket. And you can't live on 10%. You have to live on the 100% that you give yourself. And that means providing for yourself. That means being productive, being a productive person in society. And to me, that definition turned out to being just working my butt off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the productivity is kind of the way you deal with that fear of being homeless. And about 7 minutes left. Okay. I think. Thank you. So can you tell a little bit about your family? There was like you have children, or kind of what is the makeup of your family?
So I just got married last September, and we have one daughter. I have a stepdaughter now, and I moved from all of my careers. I've been across the nation, from California to New York to the Midwest. But I was fortunate to land a really good job here at a startup company in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Mm.
So it's me, my wife, and our daughter. That's our family makeup. and we're practicing Jews. So that's an interesting, finding a synagogue that would be open and welcoming to us as a family. I had been practicing Judaism for a while now, but I've been doing it as a single person, not as someone who considered being a part of a family. My family, they're all Christians, so I don't have anyone in my family who's Jewish. It's just been me, and so now that we're married, I'm learning how to build a healthy, happy Jewish family together.
Can we open it now to other questions from other people? Each of you has a chance to ask a question now.
Yeah. Can I continue?
Yes.
Yes, Aaron. You mentioned that you kind of take time out for yourself, your solitude moment, even after working so much. You spend your time there, you feel that you don't want those days to come back, and you work towards it so that's always a better day tomorrow. But you also are, in a way, losing some time from your family. And that's the reason I believe you are looking for an answer to get closer to them, right?
Yes, exactly. You got it. You know, sometimes being self-absorbed in my own hobbies isn't the healthiest thing for a family, especially for a 4-year-old daughter who needs attention, who hasn't seen me all day, who just wants to play.
Yeah, I believe that's a problem we need to solve. That is, need to take time out, need to find some way to take time out rather than not. The work-life balance, it's something there that needs to be worked out.
So I know.
feel.
So one solution that I'm just thinking about right now is that I swim. I swim. Before I got married, I used to swim a mile a day. So that usually, before I got married, that was my go-to place. You know, if I can get into the pool at 5:30 in the morning and swim for a good mile or mile and a half, then that set the whole framework for the rest of my day. Also, praying in the morning, that was also a routine that I had. That also kind of helped shape what the rest of my day would be like. So, as far as probably immediate solutions, just getting back into that would probably be very helpful as far as me balancing time and work and just becoming a more productive person.
So the me time that you said, that the swimming or any other activity that you get into habit back, is there a space to include your family along with it?
So that's a good question. So I'm learning. Before I got married, I was single for quite a long time. So understanding what that looks like is maybe like starting hobbies together with our daughter, or going on dates with my wife. All of those things, yes, they matter a lot. And I don't know, even if it just takes putting down a schedule on a calendar of when we would get together and do these things, that would be a great start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sonia, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, sure. I'm going back a little bit, but you said quite some time ago that you would like to have a more productive and happier family and not live in a rigid lifestyle.
Right.
What do you mean by, rigid? Maybe let's start with, what does your day look like?
Sure. Like I guess, I don't know, most software developers, you come across a problem during the day and you can't solve it, and you go home at night, you take a shower or you go to sleep, and you're still thinking about the problem. And then you wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning with a solution, and then you go to your computer and you start working on it and try to implement it. So it's that type of problem-solving routine where the peace that I have at nighttime, or the peace that I have when I'm taking a shower, when I'm relaxing, is consumed with thoughts of how to solve the problems that I have at work.
That's really, yeah, that's really interesting. And also that sort of shows how our brains work, doesn't it? I mean, it's usually that you end up solving a problem by not thinking about it, but it's still in the back of your head. And so you end up being unable to occupy your mind with anything else.
Right. It's finding that balance of where the on-off switch is. And learning how to switch it off. And one thing that I realized, I remember on a job that I had, there was a problem that we were having at work. It was a client-facing problem where it was taking too long for a process to run, and it was something that I could do something about. Well, the solution was I eventually woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and walked maybe like a mile or 2 miles to my job to get back to work so I could get on the computer and start trying to fix this problem that we were having in production. So it takes, I think, that experience to begin realizing that people in general don't work that hard. If there's a problem going on, people turn off that work mode and say, I've got to value my family. I've got to value, getting dinner on the table. No one else is walking around in the streets to their job at 3 o'clock in the morning to solve a problem, even if it is a production problem. And even if that problem wasn't fixed, the customers wouldn't necessarily complain. So I'm understanding more about the things that I need to change about myself. Of course, I mean, this is something that happened a few years ago, but I can understand now, just talking about it now, that maybe there's some internal motivation that I still have, that or anxiety that I have that could be addressed in terms of, I guess, being more empathetic with myself.
Have you tried experimenting with switching off?
Yeah.
In different ways.
Well, like I said, like the swimming in the morning. That's a very healthy way.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Do you do it regularly? Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Religiously.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. This past couple of weeks, I just got over a sinus infection from too much chlorine in the water, so I haven't been back in about a couple of weeks. But yeah, when I can do it, yes, it's productive. And the good thing about that is that I like to swim in the morning, and my wife likes to sleep in late, so it's perfect because I can go do what I need to do, and she doesn't feel so challenged about spending quality time with me, or me spending quality time with the family, because in general they're asleep.
Okay, well, our time was up for this section. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance for Nudrat to ask a question, but we want to kind of keep on schedule. We'll work you in another point.
Okay,
so
no problem.
Unless you want to, do you have a question? We can ask one short question just to...
I do have, but if you have some time.
Yes, let's do that then. Just make sure everybody gets in here.
Okay, so I'll be just quick. First, I will appreciate that most people don't realize things that they need to fix about themselves. You're doing a great job. And second, that I want to know that about your wife, that how much understanding does she have of your work and what do you do and your pattern of working? How much understanding does she have of that?
So, that's really interesting. So this job that I'm doing right now, it's for a startup. It's working with renewable energy, and that's a topic that's very interesting to me. When I worked for companies like Hewlett-Packard and IBM, I maintained applications and software applications, working with databases, and I did that job very well. But this is the first job that I've ever had where I actually care about the product. So my wife sees that, and she admires the fact that I'm doing something that I like, that I really love doing. So the working 60 hours a week, it's kind of hard because on one hand there is this necessity that I have of being a provider, but on the other hand there is a part that she also agrees with and understands in that I am passionate about what I'm doing, and that's something that she admires. So
Okay,
that's
that's great because first she realizes that you like what you're doing, and second, startups usually require a lot of effort and time. And usually they don't have some timeline, and it just goes on and on, and you have to put a lot of effort in it because she needs to have a lot of understanding of your field, and after that, she can like you can both work on your timings and the quality time you can give to your family.
That's a really good point. Both of us are actually working on understanding both of our fears and understanding the motivations that we have that drive some of the reactions that we have, that drive some of the discussions and sometimes arguments that we have. So it's very important in understanding how to be empathetic in a relationship, in a marriage. And again, it's this idea of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. This role that I feel is very necessary. It's a new experience for us, and so I think what I've described thus far with my history and my motivation to work 60 hours a week just basically sets the stage of how we address some fundamental issues of understanding how do we allow ourselves to expose our fears to one another, to the people that we care most about, and how do we listen to the fears that our significant others have and understand our own responses to them in order to support them and support them in a way that expresses love and compassion. Those basic characteristics that we look for in relationships.
Okay, that's just great. I'll just wrap it up. I was just saying that you don't have to be so rich and harsh on yourself because you have been so a lot of tough times and you have been single for a major of the time. So it will take time for both of you to adjust into new lives. So don't be so hard on yourself. It was great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so great, thanks. Thank you so much for sharing that, Erin. So what we want to do next is we scroll down to number 2, interpreting needs. So we've taken notes about Erin's experience, and usually with this design project it's done in pairs, so it's 2 people sitting across from each other. We do mutual interviews of each other, and we kind of each have one of these worksheets, but this is a little bit of a modification. So if we can put in what are the notable aspects of your partner's experience, so everybody can write in something about the experience and what is the underlying feeling about that and what are the related needs. So we're going to take about 8 or 10 minutes, and Sonia, if you can keep an eye on that time too, then we'll just fill in that part. What are some notable aspects of your partner's experience that stand out? What do they experience, think, see, hear, etc.? And we've got all the notes from above that we can just kind of pop a couple of those in there.
Yeah.
How are we on time? I didn't.
Sorry, we still have 5 minutes. But
Oh, great. Oh, there's plenty of time here. Thanks. Okay, I was just getting a message from from can't remember Sufula that there's too many people on his network and he's having trouble connecting, but it shouldn't be a problem next time. Okay, my sense is that we pretty much have this part done. Since there was 4 of us working on it, we got it done pretty fast. So what we want to do now is kind of the next section is check for the accuracy of it. So each of us can share what we thought was an issue, what the notable aspect was, what the related feelings were, and what the related needs are with Aaron. So. See who did the first one?
Number 1. Yeah.
Yeah, number 1. Would you like to share it?
Yeah. So yeah, Aaron works 60 hours a week at a startup, and so there are 2 parts to that. He's both very passionate about it, and he really likes his job, and he's motivated to do it well. But he also feels this is a necessity to be able to provide for his family. So that he and they don't have to worry about the future, or he in particular doesn't have to, it's a fear of becoming homeless. He has a fear of becoming homeless again. So I guess this is a sort of a way to not let that happen. And so what I think he feels is, and this is really interesting mix because it's both anxiety and passion at the same time that is driving him. But also obligation and sort of duty towards his family. And I think what this comes down to later is that he needs time later and space to think about work, but also to not think about it. So that's interesting. So to think about solving a problem, but also to relax, to have some downtime. So he really feels that he needs this space because this is such a sort of resource-intensive job for him that he really needs time to himself.
Okay, so we're sort of checking with Aaron to see if this kind of lands with you. Does this seem accurate? Is it?
Yeah, that's a very, very good analysis of what I described. So yes, that's correct. There is that mix of anxiety and passion at the same time. And I like what you wrote, Sonia, that this whole idea of being homeless, I mean, that's the same thing that I wrote down as a driving motivation to the things that I do of like working 60 hours a week and being a provider. One thing that comes to my mind about understanding how to be more empathetic is that is, and this is something that I wrote down further in the document, is that the people who love us for who we are, even if we don't always accept ourselves for who we are. And a part of being empathetic on our part, I think, is a request for us to learn how to return that love to them without forcing them to be our therapist, without requiring them to be the ones who are obligated to healing us. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, there's a component about who I am that I feel I need to work on myself, but it's not the person who I love. It's not her responsibility to help me fix that, as much as, one, understanding myself, and two, maybe finding some counseling. You know, so and I think that's part of this whole idea of what practicing empathy is all about. It's acknowledging and appreciating the love and sincerity that someone has for us, even if we can't see it in ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me, at least.
Okay.
I have a similar experience, similar sort of conclusions that I came to, and so I really understand that there is this sort of, like, you're feeling conflict about how much it is sort of your spouse or your partner's responsibility to work on these your own problems with you, because
Right.
together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a challenge. Hopefully we'll find some good solutions or some good discussion topics in this course about how to look at that.
So there was step number 2. Who did that one?
That was me.
Oh, that was you. So it was you want to just share that?
That pretty much did. You know, it's the same thing Sonia discussed about this idea of being homeless. And what I identified is that I need to learn how to practice just being vulnerable with my family, and you know, just learning how to admit or confess the things that have bothered me in the past, to just give my spouse a bigger picture of what's driving me, but then also not presume that she's the one to be responsible for helping me fix them, you know. But it's more of an informative way of describing who I am to her, so she can understand better. I think that's probably more empathetic than trying to solve my problems, or assuming that she's the one to be my sounding board to solve my problems.
Sorry for the typing. I didn't turn off my mic. So I had number 3, which was Aaron and his wife were both trying to understand each other's fears. Trying to be empathic with each other is a new experience. And so you're looking for, how do you both share your fears and support each other with love and compassion? So what I'm seeing there is maybe you're feeling some anxiety, you know, maybe around, you know, how do you share your fears? And maybe there's a sense of needing connection, needing a sense of security, and a sense of sharing.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you're right. That's a really good topic. Yeah, both of us are learning how to expose our own internal fears to the other person, to help each other understand where we're coming from, why we react the way we react, and what we need as individuals in order to be more supportive in our relationship together. It's a new landscape for both of us.
Okay, number 4. Who did that one?
It's me again. So I'm actually not too sure whether this is correct. I don't think I might not have got it to correctly. What I understood is that you're a practicing Jew, but you're the only one in your family who is all Christian. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so that was an interesting process. So yes, you did pick up on a point. What does being Jewish look like for me? It's been a long journey. I mean, I've had to convert to Judaism, so I've met with many rabbis in different states and learned quite a few things. And I think right now in our family, as our 4-year-old is learning Hebrew, I think this now, after all of these years of attempting to convert to Judaism, that this is the most intimate approach that I've ever had in my entire life, and it's one approach that I appreciate more than any others. So you're right. What does that look like? Yeah, my family. I mean, they're not against it. They love me for who I am. I mean, that's the beauty of parents sometimes, that they will just accept you unconditionally. And I'm fortunate to have those parents who do accept me unconditionally. And but finding what my role is, what my identity is as the husband of a Jewish family, as a father of a Jewish family, it's a definitely brand new experience. So that, I mean, you know, it's really interesting. That could be part of what I use my downtime for, and actually build something positive in our family together. If we focused on what does being Jewish look like for us as a family.
Okay, so actually your family now is whole Jewish, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. But you come from a wholly Christian family.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the part I was a little confused about, I think. And what I wrote is that you feel commitment and also hope, I think. I think it seems to me that hope plays a part, especially when you mentioned your daughter learning Hebrew.
Yeah.
There's this hope that you can connect on this.
It is. You know, it's really interesting. This past weekend we celebrated Shavuot, which was the receiving of the Torah, and for the first time, we found, me and my wife and our daughter found a synagogue that we both liked, that all of us liked, and we were able to go to, and we heard the Torah, and it was really nice. And so this idea that you mentioned of hope, yes, I believe it does. I do exude hope when we do these Jewish things together. It's very meaningful to me. I don't have expectations that it would happen all the time, but it is something that's fulfilling to me. It's a very new experience, building a Jewish family.
Yeah, I think this is a really important point for us, from like the perspective of empathy in your family. I think this is a really great sort of starting point, maybe, or a jump start from there.
Okay. Well, we want to get through the other two. We have number 5, those who love us. Oh, that was me, I think. Or what was it? Oh, I didn't put anything there. Those who love us.
I'm sorry, that was me. I wrote
that was you. Okay.
So I didn't really know how to categorize that. I think I discussed it when I was explaining number 2. It's I have to read it again. You could probably delete it because it really doesn't fit anywhere. But it's the, where did it go? Those
who love us for who we are, even if we don't accept ourselves and what we've gone through. How do we return their love and compassion without requiring them to be our therapists?
Yes.
So that's like responsibility? It's like a feeling of responsibility?
Right. I don't like. My wife loves me unconditionally. I don't want to impose the burden of the things that I've gone through that I haven't resolved myself onto her. I think that's kind of unfair. I think that more than anything, I need to learn how to love myself as much as she loves me through her own eyes. And maybe that's something new or something interesting or some interesting dynamic in our relationship that can be explored.
Would that be a need for self-love, caring about yourself?
Yes, and self-love, self-healing.
Healing.
Yeah. So Like I said, my concern is to not require my wife to be my therapist, but to be the one that we go on beautiful dates with, and when we create wonderful memories together, us and our family, So that's a big difference. I don't want to burden her with all of my stuff, but I do want her to make her aware of my stuff as a topic of discussion, just to say, here I am, completely open, completely honest and vulnerable, exposed.
Okay, I would like to add something. When you want to share, when you bond, or when you share your fears with each other, I don't think so that you are burdening your partner with your concerns, or they become your therapist, or you found them responsible. No, I think they play a lot of major part in that. It's not kind of like they have a responsibility or they have a duty. I don't think so. I think you don't have to think along those lines. That I don't want to burden her. I think when you love each other, when you live with each other, and when you have compassion for each other, you do that for each other.
Hmm.
And you help each other along with that. See, you cannot do everything on your own. You need other person for that, and you two need to bond, and that would help you, a lot with the bonding thing.
Yeah. So you can tell that in my discussion, that's kind of new to me.
So we had point number 6. Aaron feels he is a stereotypical guy working 40, 60 hours. Who did that one? I don't know, maybe I did it. There hasn't been much empathy, but he wants to change this. Okay, so I did that. Okay, so what I was hearing there is you're feeling a sense of disconnection, and that you're needing more connection and love.
Absolutely.
At that point.
So yeah, the idea that even when I work 60 hours a week, anyone with common sense would expect there to be a need for downtime. But now that I have a family, my downtime, I feel guilty in my downtime.
Oh, okay.
Because because I haven't been around as much as I need to be. So that's a good point of conflict that I need to address.
Okay, so we're on to the next one. We did check the accuracy of the site already. We can actually get rid of 3. I'm deleting that. And so we want one problem statement, so we can discuss that. What is the one problem statement that we feel of? What's the major problem that Aaron's dealing with? Of all these.
Yeah, I would say the major problem from what I thought is this conflict between the sort of passion and duty, and this balance between work, downtime, and feeling guilty about downtime, but needing downtime. As I think this is the major point.
I agree with Sonia. I mean, after talking about it, I do see that as the major problem. That conflict right there.
Okay, not sharing enough with his partner. Okay. So, is there anything else? Is that the main one? We're seeing a conflict between that Aaron has. We see. Let me write that. Aaron has conflict between work and downtime.
That, and there's also a conflict between the anxiety of not repeating the past, of being homeless again, versus the enthusiasm and passion that I have for what I'm doing now. Both of those contribute to this idea of working more than 40 hours a week, which in my family's eyes is simply 20 more time away from them.
So it's kind of like Aaron has a conflict between work and downtime, and between fear and passion.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's that sounds complicated, but I think that's what we as humans are.
So okay, so that's our problem statement. This is the we're trying to find like what is the, we've heard a lot of different problems. We've heard a lot of different conflicts, a lot of different stories. We're trying to narrow down to maybe the most core problem. And now we want to translate that problem into a design challenge. So the example we had before was, just as a sample, John feels frustrated and disconnected because he does not feel heard and included in his family. And then turning that into a challenge is how might we support John in feeling heard and connected in his family. So we have now the problem of Aaron has conflict between work and downtime, between fear and passion. And so what is our design challenge? You can write a few design challenges in there. Maybe we could each do a couple design challenges, translate that into a design challenge, and then we'll kind of compare those and merge them into one.
Okay.
What are we doing?
We're on page number 8, and we're creating a how might we challenge. We've taken the problem that Aaron is dealing with, and we're translating it into a how might we statement. So most everybody's probably familiar that, you know, with design challenge, we're in the define mode. We've been defining the problem, and we're kind of getting down to that one core problem and turning it into a design challenge that we can kind of ideate on. So, okay. And typically the design challenge starts with how might we, so that kind of helps turn into an actionable statement. Okay, so let's see, we came up with 4 how might we statements here. The first one is how might we support Aaron in reconciling his conflicts between work and downtime as well as between fear and passion. How might we support Aaron in feeling peaceful and fulfilled while working? 1, working, relaxing, 2, relaxing on his own, and 3, spending time with his family. The next one is how might we help Aaron overcome his past experiences, and how might a healthy relationship look of informing our fears and vulnerabilities to our spouses without imposing the guilt and burden of fixing himself. Okay. So I guess, what do you think about these challenges? Shall we merge them into one, or do you want to vote on it?
Just want to say that I think I think you wrote the first one and I wrote the second one, and I think they're basically expressing the same idea. I just wanted to show that there are these three sort of conflicts that are, that are a part of this conflict between work and downtime and fear and passion. I think there are three sides. So sort of Aaron working on his own, loving what he does. Aaron relaxing on his own and needing that too, and also Aaron spending time with his family, in a fulfilled way. So I think there are these three sort of sides of the triangle that we're trying to reconcile.
Okay. I was just thinking of kind of like a broader term is almost like how might we support Aaron in reconciling conflicts in his life. Is kind of like a broader term. I don't know what.
True, I think it takes all of them into account, but I like that when we say what we mean exactly by those conflicts, and it's easier to focus, I think.
Okay, so you're saying that kind of having those conflicts spelled out helps us in kind of focusing on specifics.
Yeah.
And that does help. I appreciate that too, separating them out into three workable items. And I mean, I understand the bigger picture that you're expressing, but I appreciate identifying them as three bullet points or three topics that we discussed.
So that really resonates with you, having it kind of broken down into those categories. Okay, yes. So it sounds like 2 votes for that. Maybe we could just write your name on whichever one you want to do, and we'll just vote on it then. So, I mean, that works. That one works for me. That one. Shall we just write your name on the one, Aaron? Okay, Sonia, Aaron. Okay, it looks like that's the one. We've got the, that's 3. Okay, that's great. So we're going to take that one, and we're going to move it to the next page. I just copied it. We're moving on to the page 9, which is the brainstorming. And I just copied it over. We have the how might we support Aaron in feeling peaceful and fulfilled while working, relaxing on his own, and spending time with family. So what we can do here actually is we can each take some paper, if you've got a paper, and just create a grid. And we're going to take about 5 minutes, and each of us can brainstorm ideas that we have, and hopefully you have paper there. If you don't have paper, you can always write into the into the document too.
How many minutes do we have for this?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Can we take some time to get some paper?
Yes. Okay. Well.
One moment.
If we need more time, we can take a little bit more.
What are the grids to be filled with?
The grids, sorry, it's on your own, imagine some solutions that may address your partner's needs. Do rapid brainstorming, wild and radical ideas. Go for quantity, not quality. And so you want to draw, sketch ideas to address Aaron's problem. Just kind of try to sketch out some images, or drawings are good, or whatever kind of works for you.
So which problem are we generating ideas for?
The design challenge, we're on page 9, and it's how might we support Aaron in feeling peaceful and fulfilled while working, relaxing on his own, and spending time with family.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready. Yep. Let's go then. So let's go around, and each person can share one to begin with, one idea, and let's see. And then we'll get a feedback. What we're going to do is get Aaron's feedback of what he thinks about that idea. So we're going to, let me see, drawing. It's get feedback about the take notes, and we're going to take notes. So what is Aaron's reaction to that idea? And so I guess I could start. My first one was see, this one here was an online support group, so that every if I could print screen. So we've kind of been doing that here. We're listening so that we would do this on an ongoing basis. So maybe like a weekly family dialogue support group for you. So I'm just wondering, how does that resonate for you? What kind of comes up for you?
You know, it's hard enough learning how to expose my fears and vulnerabilities to my wife, let alone the animosity of sharing them with people that I've just met. So my first reaction would be to if there's like something that's brought to the discussion that's based on research, that I could read, that I could look at in a video, that would be something that I could appreciate and learn from. But I don't know, feeling like I'm in the hot chair every week would be kind of challenging in itself. That's just my first response. But I mean, I like the idea of community, but it's also identifying that this is still my problem and my issues that I need to work on with my family because they're my priority. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. So it's more about working on your own and with your family versus working with someone else.
Right, yeah.
Okay, who'd like to share the next idea?
Okay, mine is, I didn't draw something, I didn't have paper right now, but mine's closer to the Edwin's. Like, if you have some friends other than family that you hang out, a very trusted community, like we are 22 and we are here for counseling and helping each other. But you know, you need to figure stuff out with your family, but you sometimes need others' opinion just to relax and, they help you with thinking and relaxing. So I would say if you have some very close and trusted friends, you can don't go and share like very personal things, but you can, they help you with counseling and it's good. You share and talk about it. It helps you relax.
So I do agree with that. There's this motto that it takes a village to raise a family. So I'm in total agreement with that. And even as part of converting to Judaism, one of the steps is you're supposed to move into a Jewish community to actually become Jewish. So yes, I totally agree. And I'm new to Albuquerque. I've only been here for maybe a few months. And so everything is new to me, the marriage, the family, the location. So the idea of getting out of my box, getting out of waking up every morning, going to work, and coming home and being with the family at home, getting out of that routine and doing something different with other people would be very healthy, I agree. Thank you.
Let's keep going around.
Okay, I don't know if Safi's online but I guess I'm gonna go. Oh yeah.
I'm on the line.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you wanna go then?
Okay. I will. Hello.
Hi. Go ahead.
Yes. How might we support Aaron in feeling peaceful? I mean, 3 categories: working, his own time, and with his family. I just wanted to ask, like, since Aaron is a programmer who works, a single contributor, he must work with some other people around it, especially to get around at work, socializing and making some friends. Having a helping hand will always be better. Working around, sharing work with people. It kind of won't take up the whole thing. I don't know how the scene is back at your work, but it's always the case that is everyone in your company, your fellow peers are working the same number of hours, is something you need to ask, and accordingly, balance it out with them.
So that's also a very interesting topic. There have been times, I mean, I've had other jobs where the one person who's doing most of the work, who's doing most of the application development has been me. And And that's
Okay.
simply because of, one, my passion for programming, and two, my willingness to really invest completely into a project or design. So, as far as the balance is concerned, I mean, that is a good topic of discussion to have with my peers. That while they're going home to being with their family, sometimes I'm staying late and working just a little bit too hard. And knowing where the boundary is and knowing when to turn the switch off, yes, that's something that maybe begins with a discussion with my coworkers. So that's a good point. Thank you.
And then relaxing on his own. This is something as previous in our display had. Getting into a habit of doing something small every day makes a big difference over a period of time. Simply just walking out, taking a walk in the morning, or just getting up early, or even going swimming. You need to stick to it no matter what happens, and make sure it is a small habit, not a big one, so that you continue to do for some period of time. That becomes a habit for you. You don't, it'll become happy. You get up in the morning and you brush your teeth. It's something obvious you do, otherwise you will feel bad about it. The same way, just get into one small habit of only just getting up in the morning and watering the plants or just going for a walk. Something, just do it every day consistently. That will bring a big change. I feel if you really want to grow something for yourself.
Yeah, that's also a good one too. We just got a new dog, and his name is Itchy, and it's one of our friends' dogs. And I've never been a pet owner before, so one really cool thing that I'm thinking is, yeah, I could be the one who wakes up every morning to take him for a walk. And so I think that would probably be very helpful. Yeah, that and then going swimming.
Yeah. And the third part, with your family. Uh, Whenever, as an individual, we rely on someone else, when two people come in contact, balance is something very important. I always use a metaphor saying that with one it's a sword, it's a trap. So the point is, it works everywhere, even at work, in life, or anywhere. To make anything happen, it's just not one man's job. Everyone have to equally put in to make it happen. So if you are putting the amount of effort from your side, you should also, make sure that make it easy for your spouse to equally appreciate that and help you do that. Together, it can be, things can happen rather than you just making all the effort.
Yeah, so you were cutting out a little bit, but I got the gist of it, of just not taking complete and full responsibility for doing everything on my own. That's kind of a mentality that I've had, that I've kind of adopted over the years since I've been working. So, yeah, you're right, pulling the reins back a little bit and not assuming complete responsibility for absolutely everything that I have been doing in the past would be a good starting point. And that's not just a discussion. That's probably something that I can just act on today, right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
it for me.
because we're sort of running out of time, I think.
Okay, what did you say? So I didn't catch that.
We're running out of time. It's already 8, so.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to end. Well, did you want to just quickly share something, or?
Yes, I did,
okay.
because I have a different perspective from that. So really quickly, I want to share 2 sort of different perspectives. So one idea was, because I think the problem here is more sort of time management, even though we don't want to call it like that. I think that's the issue here. And so I thought that there is really no solution that takes a person's whole life into account when it comes to, for example, time management in a calendar, for example, or sort of an online web app or whatever, that takes the whole life, rather than, for example, just work time or just family time. We don't tend to schedule family time, for example. So I think there is this missing part. And another idea that I had, which is also like a different perspective, because it was interesting to hear like Safi and Nudrat talk about community. And I wonder if that's a cultural sort of perspective, also a cultural difference. I thought that was interesting because I went sort of around the family and I thought if there is a way to involve your wife and kids into your work, because this is such a big part of your life, so maybe there is a way for them to see how you work, where you work, and maybe you do that already. Maybe invite them once a month for them to see what the dad is doing. I think that would be quite an improvement for them to see the big part of your life. Actually, 60 hours a week. That's really 1/3 of your whole week almost. So those are sort of two different perspectives that I had.
Yeah, so that's the second one involving the family in my career. Yeah, real briefly. Yeah, actually, we did start doing that a little bit. She did come to work, and actually, she was asked to do some work for the startup along with me.
That's actually quite good. How do you feel about it?
Well, it opened up a different dynamic. I mean, because we married each other to be husband and wife, not to be coworkers, and so we both share a similar vocation in life with the things that we do, and working for a startup kind of complements both of us as individuals and brings out our strengths. So. During that time, I got to see, and I got to appreciate some work ethics of my wife and skills of my wife that I hadn't, immediately recognized. And so there is that aspect of appreciating that. But
that's really important. Yeah.
It is. It very much is. And just just being friends in that sense is a good thing. The bottom line though is that we want to be family. And we want to do family things together. And I mean, even though that informs my wife of what I do, and that informs me of what type of worker she is, the reality is that our priority is our daughter, and building a family together, building a Jewish family together. And so I don't know. There is a balance. I do appreciate it. I see a place for it. I see a place for incorporating that type of activity in our lives together. And maybe it's one of many small steps to becoming more intimate with one another.
Mhm. I got that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would like to share something.
Edwin, you're muted.
You're muted, Edwin.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's just that we're out of time. I want to kind of honor the time with everyone. Sometimes I noticed that with our design group, sometimes we even went for 3 hours. But I think this was just the beginning. We'll do another iteration, the same process with somebody else next week, and I think we'll have a little bit more time to go through. The next step would be to have heard all the brainstorms, and then narrow it down to one, and then to have done a prototype of it, and then to have tested that. But we do want to keep on time here, so we're a couple minutes over. But maybe we can just go around, and how did that work for everyone, and any kind of final closing thoughts?
So what I'd like to say is, first I'd like to say thank you all very much for being open and listening to my story and giving some really, really good positive feedback. I'm going to take advantage of it and probably share this with my wife and let her hear me describe how I see our relationship and the things that I need to work on myself, and to hear your feedback. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for all of your input.
Okay, that was all great, and it was very brave of you to open up and share it with us. And it was overall a very good experience. And on final thought, I would just say that I think the guilt feeling, you need to work on that too. So you just start with the minimum time every day, the minimum time that you need to have to feel to spend with your daughter and your wife, so that you can overcome that, because that is a big hurdle, and that must pinch you a lot. So you should work on that. Start from minimum. You don't have to give a lot of time. Start from minimum time. Manage it every day. Make sure you spend some time with them. Sometimes a lot, sometimes minimum, but do that. That will help you a lot. And overall, it was great experience. Looking forward to further meetings. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Sonia and
okay, I'm gonna. So from my perspective, I think even though we talked so much, when I was coming up with ideas, I was coming up with more and more questions about Aaron that I wish I had asked, or I wish I had had Aaron answered before, so that it would be easier for me to come up with the idea. So that was interesting. That there is always some things that we still haven't found out. There is still another bottom to the bottom.
Yeah.
So I think this is the part where this asking why 5 times or even maybe 10 times sometimes to get to the bottom comes in. And yeah, I mean this is great. If I think about sharing my family story, I think that's quite scary. So I really appreciate Aaron taking the plunge and being so open with all of us, even though we are the strangers now, but so that he's wary about sharing with a strangers community. But I think I think he handled it very well.
Thank you. If you have, I'm more than willing. If you're willing to post the questions, I'm willing to answer them as best as I can, because I believe this is a great learning opportunity for all of us. So feel free.
Sure. Maybe next time.
Okay.
I think we're running out of time. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to how this develops.
Great. Thanks.
Yes. Overall, I believe the session was great. I had a very bad internet, but the conversation that were going was something very interesting, and it's very relating, especially what he said today, Aaron said. So I believe I could relate to him at certain places, what he was talking about, his past, and the kind of work balance he's doing. This is something I have had faced myself, and I did have somewhat of control on this. So maybe when I share my part, it would be quite useful for him. And overall, yes, we do have a good set of people out here who have a very nice perspective, from various angles to give a feedback. I believe what I said today to Aaron about the clap and slap thing, that is to have synergy among things, and more importantly, for your family to work to get together. You have a beautiful daughter, so that use that as a lighthouse to do whatever you want for her and get together with your wife. That could be a good way to do something.
Okay. Oh, it's great. Thank you. So yeah, thanks everybody for taking part, and Aaron for sharing that. That was I really feel like I got to know you, a lot better, and feel a real connection. With all the ideas, you can take. I have some other ideas too. You can take your ideas and post them to that page, and we'll keep that. Maybe we can reuse this and kind of build on it to do another iteration as well around this. So all your ideas, any other material, please post them to this page. Then, so our next meeting is the same time next Monday. I'll lead that one, and everyone in future meetings will have a chance to lead a meeting as well. So with that, really grateful for everybody taking part. I'm really excited about this, and with that, I'll stop the broadcast.